Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Friday, December 8th, 2023. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, the stock market, the altcoin market, the Bitcoin price chart, all of that great, glorious stuff as we get ready for the United States stock market to kick open here in the next 2 minutes. Currently, right now, we're off to a pretty decent start over here in the altcoin market. Stock market looks a little bit mixed, but we'll take a peek over there, of course, at gold, which is getting absolutely hammered today. Stock market, a little bit mixed in there. We also had some futures contract changes, so it's going to look like the stock market's going to open ripping to the upside, but we'll take a peek at what it actually is going to look like once it does open, because I don't trust what the futures look like right now. And I know there was some contract changes, so we'll find out in 2 minutes how the stock market's going to look. I'm looking at individual stocks. I see quite a bit of red, but our indexes are showing us super green, so I don't really trust it. We do have yields that are up this morning as we get kicked off. Dollar is back above 104, but altcoin market ripping, which is the big story. And so right after this, I've already got it uploaded. I've already got it ready to go and to release. We will have a video out the moment that this Markets in the Morning comes to a conclusion. There's a video ready to rock this morning talking about crypto as we get ready to kick off the weekend. So looking over there on the right side of the screen, of course, you all see it. We've got a green day over here in the crypto market. You got Cardano breaking out. It's up over 53 cents. That's the highest that it has been since at least September of 2022. So at least a year and 3 months. We are getting Wyckoff accumulation breakout over there in Cardano, and really just even Chainlink stepped up another level over here. I believe Solana has stepped up another level. We got just green. We've got gloriousness going on here in the market with Bitcoin kind of chilling out here for the last couple of days, and the market doing exactly as we had hoped that it would, that we would see the altcoin market continue to shoot up right in this moment as we did back in 2020. So it's actually been behaving right on time, right on schedule, acting just as it should. So market is looking good heading into the weekend, which means, hey, man, might be an exciting weekend for us. Of course, I'm off on the weekend, but you know what? I think we're leaving off on a good place to go to head into such an event. This is what we've been talking about. You can see as it got through here, what happens. Boom, we get the breakout here in the altcoin market. Let's go. You got a lot of moves up there. Of course, you've had Ethereum get up to over $2,300 here in the last day, currently sitting at $2,348. All of these altcoin markets, all these market caps, right? So here's total to, let's go back to, we can look at total really fast too. I hope I still have the stuff on there. I do. There's total. There you go. Shooting out of the sign of strength. There's total 2 getting out of the sign of strength. There's total 3 getting out of the sign of strength. And there's others getting out of the sign of strength. So, an absolutely glorious time for crypto right now as we get ready to head into the weekend. Lots of altcoins are breaking out. I don't know if there's really much to say about those things that I haven't said in the video that I've put out or that we've talked about in Markets in the Morning over the course of the last week. We're just in that phase right now where things can really ramp up. Of course, I've issued all those thoughts that I have on there of, up, but typically we come back and back test this level at some point, but typically that's a little ways from now. Typically there's still some more excitement, some more euphoria, and some more blow off tops to happen here in this market before we get to something like that, where we actually get extended quite a ways above here before that big back test does come in here. And so again, that's just one of those things of me being 2 steps ahead, thinking way ahead. In July, posting a thread over there on Twitter, really talking about, that we just completed spring over in the market. In Wyckoff accumulation, you have your final phase, which is spring or last point of support. Here we are 5 months later. Finally, we're breaking through sign of strength. So it's like, okay, well, let's get 2 more steps ahead now again, right? It's usually we're entering super excitement right now in the market. Oh my gosh. We're going to pause real quick and acknowledge Pat. Right? Is that Pat who just did that? Who did that? Pat dropped 50 50 memberships in the chat, guys. Holy cow. But yeah, I think, Pat, thank you, brother. Oh my gosh. Two steps ahead, thinking of, the bigger breakup and then the bigger pullback later. But then, trying to see if we can get it. Then we start really talking about speculating on, will this thing go absolutely nuts after that? Most retail investors, most crypto content is all going to be focused on this pump being the one to send us to the absolute moon. And Wyckoff, what we do is we typically bump out of here, but then we typically pull back to build a support, and then we can speculate on that happening right there. But heading into the weekend, typically these are breakouts. This is a breakout phase of a market, guys. This is an exciting time in the market. So just enjoy the moment, live in the moment, especially for those who went through all of this, buying all those lows and suffering your way through it. You are getting paid, people. You're getting paid big time. Okay. So let's head over to the stock market now that it actually is open. So there you go. Stock, all indexes opened in the negative. So you can see that all these futures index, they were all in the green. I knew not to trust that. You can see the NASDAQ is down 56 points at the opening. You can see the S&P is down 5 points at the opening, and the Dow Jones is down 18 points at the opening. So not terrible, but you're down 1/3% in the NASDAQ. You're down 0.13% over here in the S&P, and you're down 0.05% over there in the Dow. I think the leader of the day was Roblox. Go Roblox. NVIDIA following behind with Netflix. Losers of the morning are Google, Amazon, and Meta. Looking over here, you can see metals like gold just getting smashed. Same thing with silver as the dollar's back at 104. With those breakouts happening over there, and gold, of course, painting a scary picture there on Sunday when the futures opened. But then once Monday came around and the stock market actually opened, gold had already lost its all-time high. Again, we talk about those things. One can go into a bull run or the other. It's either the equity market or gold. So for equity bulls, which in turn would be crypto bulls, it's nice to see gold pulling back and totally faking out up in there as gold does fall back down, and equity markets again have another decent week happening in here. I guess you could say the Dow, man, look at that, just very flat, just really stuck in a really tight range here for the Dow this week. Not a whole lot going on here. But of course, crypto just absolutely ripping, playing its big old catch-up game. So no, not a whole lot to say here in the stock market. Really, it's next week that we'll be looking forward to see if there's going to be extreme volatility. Again, here's that gold chart where on Sunday night it shot $70 into the all-time high, but by the time the market opened the next day, it was back below, and this has been the rest of this week. So looking at that weekly candle, that's what you got there for gold. We'll see how this week ends. And if it's able to get a little bit of recovery, you'd hope that, I don't know what you'd hope for. I guess it just depends on you want. If you're a gold bull, you would hope it would hold up. But for equities, the more red this thing is and the closer to the bottom it closes, the better it is for an equity market. As for the DXY, the US dollar currency index, it did have a fall yesterday. Then it just shot right back up this morning, but still it's struggling at that same price point that it was at. So not a big change over here in the DXY. The big thing, of course, it's going to be next week. So next week's the week where we risk all the volatility in the market happening. It's where you have the FOMC meeting that will be next Wednesday. Currently, the market is pricing it in at, drum roll, 98.4% probability that will be paused again with the interest rates over there on Wednesday when the Fed has the FOMC meeting. Again, as we get closer to that, we do live stream that. That's usually in the middle of the day. I could never really remember. I think it's around 2 p.m. Eastern time is when that happens, but I'll lock that time in for you much closer as we get there on Wednesday. We do the live stream on here. We watch the markets and see how they react to when the interest rate decision does come out and what type of language is released in the Federal Reserve notes on the interest rate decision. And then, of course, we watch Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell speak and do all that good stuff while we watch the charts react to that as well. As we know, we've been on 3 pauses. We've been in a 3-meeting pause right now. The market does anticipate that. The market does price in that the Fed is done. We are paused. There's no more hikes. That is how the market is completely pricing it in moving forward. It does not price in that there are any more hikes left for the Fed. And so just listening to see if we get that language and how they're going to react. And, of course, everybody's looking for cuts. That typically is the mark of the beginning of the end is when the cuts do actually come. But so long as we are sitting here paused, this historically has been very positive for markets over the last 23 years. So as long as we're in here and as long as we're paused, we're great. I'm not necessarily looking forward to any type of cuts because once those do happen, those have always been the marks of bad times to come shortly thereafter. So keep the pauses going. All good. I think that's really all we got, guys. You got Bitcoin sitting at 43,700 and you got the altcoin market ripping. So it sounds like a good start to the end of the week. Really good start to the end of the week. I think we can probably keep markets in the morning pretty brief today, just because I already have a video completely recorded, edited, uploaded, and set to go for once this thing is done. So, the market is pretty much reacting precisely as we had hoped that we would see the altcoin market break out right here. I put out a video 2 days ago. What was the title of that thing? I don't know. Something totally moony. Hold on. This was the triggering point on the Bitcoin price chart for the altcoin market to surge right now. And that, if you watch this video, which I assume a lot of you did, it's at 43,000 views. That's pretty good for just how the times have been. 43,000 is quite a few views. There you go. We're actually getting it happening right when we had anticipated that it could show up in here. So I mean, you see it, I see it. We know we're in Wyckoff escapes. These typically go higher than what we're seeing of where we're at currently right now. They typically go. There's typically a lot of room left before major resistance comes in for these things. Just look at the open gap in here, over there, and others. So I do think there's probably quite a bit of room to go up here in the altcoin market in the coming days and weeks. Just sit back, enjoy life. That's how I'm going to think about it. I'll probably, I don't know, I'm going to do some stuff outside and just not care. Just know it. I've talked about this in past times. Like the most wonderful times to go fishing are when your portfolio is doing green. And you're just sitting there just freaking enjoying fishing, man. And you just look down, there's all that green. You're like, all right, cool, man. And you just cast the line out there. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. That's always like one of my favorite pastimes to do in times like this when things are just, in general, really good. That I like to go, and I do fish all the time, but there's like one like special moment that I like to do it, and it's during that. And so I think there's still quite a bit of ways to go. But again, like I talked about in the video, like I've talked about markets in the morning, I'm not convinced this is the breakout and go to moon candle, right? That this is Wyckoff breakout. Typically, there's a back test later. So the prices that we see currently today in the market are prices we will probably see again in the future at some point. But there's probably going to be some epic stuff happening in between, and we're living in the epic moment right now. So enjoy it. Otherwise, I think that's it. Let's see if there's any type of news that's worth covering here. Crypto markets outlook after November jobs report. Binance founder CZ can't leave the U.S. Investment firm floats yield-bearing ETF based on MicroStrategy stock. Bitcoin may hit 50,000 on altcoin FUD as Ethereum Solana beat gains. Web3 gamer, games need bots. Okay. Global policymakers are still pushing CBDCs despite their failures. Developers of Bitcoin sidechain MVC. Okay. Google's GPT-4 Gemini is out. So what? They got Groot out over there on Twitter or X. Now they've got Gemini is out. Now you got ChatGPT. You got all different kinds of stuff now. Crypto is for criminals. Okay, we already read that one yesterday. But JP Morgan has been fined $39 billion and has its own token. House committee passes bill to preserve U.S. leadership in blockchain. Yeah, whatever that means. Bitcoin price continues to drop, but how are pro-Bitcoin traders positioned? They're long. Do we need to read that? Montenegrin officials plan to extradite Do Kwon to the United States. So, okay. Looking over here at financial news that's going on out there. What you got going on for me? U.S. payrolls rose. Oh my gosh, you're just killing me with ads and pop-ups here, CNBC. Jeez. U.S. payrolls rose $199,000 in November. Unemployment rate falls to 3.7%. Google weighs AI. Musk is upset at something. U.S. issues strongest criticism of Israel. Cool. Looking over here at Bloomberg, live U.S. jobs rate drop. U.S. jobless rate drop led by teenagers and women over 20. Microsoft Open AI. So we just got like a bunch of AI news today is really all it is. AI and then jobless. Jobless claims fell. But otherwise green over here in the market. Let's see if this is updated at all. Because every time we see jobless claims fall, you see people like, oh no, the Fed is going to raise rates. 98.2. What was it earlier? 98.4? Or is it unchanged? I don't know. That's pretty unchanged. So looks like Bitcoin's now at 43,865. So it's moving up a little bit over here. Still big old fat green day over here in the crypto market. It's a couple of them in the red, but OP optimism. You saw that thing was up like 25% yesterday. It's the leader of losers, down 2.5%, but it's coming off of yesterday's like 20 something percent gain. Otherwise, green city here in crypto. If I could just kind of summarize, I don't think there's too much to cover here going into the day kicking off, especially since I've already recorded a video that will be out right after this video or after this live stream is ended. If I could just summarize how we're looking here, at least in crypto, as we wrap up Friday, wrap up the trading week out there in the United States stock market, is that the market, just kind of watching the progress of how this week played out in crypto. Bitcoin rampaged up early in the week. You watched, Bitcoiners screaming that they're the only ones and that it's finite money. And we saw Bloomberg saying we're going to $500,000. You have CNBC covering Bitcoin stuff, and we were like, we know what usually happens here. And then, recognizing that, there would be a divergence that happens in the altcoin market that's typical to happen in here. We pointed to the video that was put out over a month ago with that discussions. However, that once Bitcoin finally did reach that breaking point, this was the breaking point for the altcoin market to get moving. That's the moment that we did reach this week. Waited to see if it would occur, and sure enough, here we go. The altcoin market is moving. This is what we want to see. So you could still see more step-ups happening here in Bitcoin, but the altcoin market should follow along. The altcoin market should not let itself diverge anymore, and it should be fully going. And based on what we see over here in these market caps and this Wyckoff accumulation breakouts that are happening everywhere, it looks just fine and just dandy like it is. So it seems like we're going to be going into a pretty fancy weekend, and all the charts indicate that the prices be behaving the way it should. Again, like I always try to reiterate, even if you don't own any Bitcoin, you should always be cheering for Bitcoin. Maybe not the behavior of Bitcoiners on Twitter. They're pretty cocky and arrogant and make up a bunch of nonsense narratives. It's total bull. I saved myself there. That was close. But the market's moving. We should all be happy. It's all going just great. So enjoy your Friday, man. I hope you have decent weather. You can go out and do something and just enjoy life because it looks pretty good out here. XRP, we'll cover XRP. I don't think there's anything going on with XRP. There you go. XRP, yeah, it's shifting. It's over 65 cents. But again, it's still in that dumb money zone. It's got to get an escape here. You just look at the whole range, even like just scoot back a couple of ranges and where you're at. Doesn't matter which one you're in. You're in the dead middle of all of them. There's not a lot to say here unless you can get shooting up to the top of the ranges or get down to the bottom of the ranges. So with XRP, we do still just sit back waiting on that one to do some behavior. The more thrilling things happening in the market are things like this, where finally these are escaping. So you got things like Cardano that is setting the highest prices since back in, here we go, now August of 2022. So a year and 4 months for Cardano. Long accumulation schematic, actually perfect accumulation schematic in here. That was spring. We'll talk about that in today's video, and not necessarily like focusing on Cardano so much, but just that this was all pointed to back in July, not just July, but the thread was posted over there on Twitter back in July showing each individual one of these things and their Wyckoff accumulation spring phase or last point of support. Cardano was an example that was pointed to in here. Lots of other examples were used in there too, of course, right? Things like Chainlink and Bitcoin Cash and all that stuff and how they all behaved. But there you go. That's the escape for Cardano. What a day. What a move. Again, this is one of those top development activity coins. So I definitely have a large position in here. There's a chance that my Cardano has now dethroned my Ethereum. Whether that's short-lived or not, there's a chance that it has now. But okay, that's it, guys. We've got a nice fat green day over here in crypto after a fantastic week. Bitcoin leading the charge, Bitcoin breaking through the level that did trigger the altcoin market to go in 2020. Then the altcoin market does trigger to head into the end of the week, and that's how we're heading into our weekend. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. All right, Spags. I'm hopping into the chat here, guys. We're moving pretty quick this morning. So Spags, what are your thoughts on XRP and XLM moving the same? Hit the like button. I've actually been the one who's brought all this up and made all the charts on it to show that. So there's even been articles written about me posting those charts, like crypto news articles written about showing the correlation between that and how it happens. I've even shown it on the 1 second time frame here on the YouTube channel. I don't really have any thoughts on it. I don't know the answer to why it does that. Of course, the common answer would be, trading algorithms to occur. But there's almost like no delay that happens even when we get down to like the 1 second time frame. There's something bizarre that happens there. I don't have the answer to why that is. The most bizarre one was the recent one where like Brad Garlinghouse and Chris the ETF one, right? The fake ETF. It was a XRP specific fake news story about an XRP ETF coming out. XRP like pumped 20% and Stellar Lumens pumped 18% to the second. There was no reason for Stellar Lumens to pump 18% on an XRP ETF news story. So there's something that goes on there. I don't have the answer for you, though. James V says, do you take into account the record low amount of Bitcoin available on exchanges currently? Thank you for what you do. Merry Christmas. Yeah, we're going to find a supply zone. We're going to find where the exchanges can get supply, right? But I don't personally think. I think we try to build a narrative with that. I think we do. Let me show you something. I'm trying to pull up a chart while I'm talking. I do see that stuff too, but I don't buy it. They're always going to create whatever bull story they can do when it comes to supply on exchanges. And I know there's been a lot of myth busting when it comes to that particular metric. One thing that I do see when it comes to Bitcoin, narrative wise, that you will never see Bitcoiners post who do study the on-chain stuff is this. Right, so let's go back here. I'm gonna screenshot it and put it over here on the chart. This is from Glassnode. Okay, this is wallets containing 10 or more Bitcoin. And so when we went into the 2020 bull run in here, you can see that they started distributing right into the bull, right? You could see them just selling. This is where retail investors are being diamond hands. This is where they have laser eyes. This is where Anthony Pompliano is having Jim Cramer come on his show, and they're talking about going to $500,000 or $5 million. This is where Cramer's telling you, I'll never sell, Pomp. I made it. And then boom, but they're distributing into that. They're selling into all of that like crazy in here. And then notice, they don't ever really pick up steam back up in here, right? Even into this new high, they don't pick up steam in here. They don't really do anything. They don't even like really distribute into it either, because they distributed into the all-time high. They were done. That was the peak of the market for them to distribute. Market falls, and then they still just kind of stay here flat. Notice that they start accumulating right here, right? This is where Bitcoin falls and hits what? Let me close that so it's easier, right? That's this point right here. So Bitcoin hits 17,600, right? So that's right here on this chart. And this is where the wallets with greater than 10 Bitcoin start accumulating again. They start buying this whole thing. And let me take that off. Go back. We'll spread this out. then you can see that this is where they start accumulating, right? They don't really accumulate here after this one. They distribute completely into the laser eyes and diamond hands crowd. And then they don't really buy or distribute into this one because they did all of their distribution in here. Just kind of runs flat this whole time here. And then this is where they lift off and start distributing or start accumulating. And they accumulate here at 17.6, and then they accumulate through everything. Then FTX collapses, and they accumulate really hard into the FTX collapse. While retail is screaming 12K, 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 the bigger wallets are like, we'll take it, we'll take it, we'll take it, we'll take it. And of course, they were right. The whole thing just keeps moving to the upside. But like we were talking about over here, right? They distribute into the strength. They distribute and sell into retail investor excitement and euphoria, and then they buy into retail investor pessimism and depression, right? What are they doing now? They bought the whole way up while all the retail investors are screaming 12K. Now they're selling into the strength. They're distributing into the strength. So they have started, has the appearance, they have started distributing. And when we zoom in on it a little bit closer, you can see that trend really there. Still continuing to march down, right? All climbing, all through the 12Kers, 12K, 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 boom, and trending downward now. So are they in full-blown distribution? I don't know. But I do see that trend has definitely changed from what they were doing. When we grab it like this, that they were climbing into retail panic. The second retail gets cocky and confident, they start distributing on them, right? That's also what happened back in here. But as you can notice, there was a lot of distribution happening before the top was ever marked, right? So I'm not saying that this means the top is here at this exact moment in time, but what we are definitely seeing, at least on this particular chart, is they are starting to distribute, it looks like. And they're doing that for the first time prior to being at an all-time high. Typically, this is upon the break of the all-time high, like back here in 2020. Breaks the all-time high, they start their distribution. They're starting early this time. So keep it in mind. We'll keep an eye on that. Cash Me Outside, my brother, gifted a BCB membership. Thank you, Cash Me Outside. Cash Me Outside has helped me pull a lot of data for those newsletters that we've been writing, or I've been writing. Crypto for Sweden gifted a BCB membership as well. Thank you very much. I'm sure the person who received it is grateful as well. Joe Who says, what are your thoughts about Polkadot? It seems like inverse head and shoulders are playing out. Do you see it as an underperformer during this retrace? Well, I'm not an inverse head and shoulders person. That's I've gone into that a lot. That's the first thing anybody learns how to do in crypto. Very simple reason why it's the first thing they know how to do. They visually just see this, and then they just draw a trend line through it. And then they say, hey, that's an inverse head and shoulders happening in there. I'm catching the right shoulder. Problem is, you'll spot this a million times, and probably 80 to 90% of the time, that's going to end up being the result of the inverse head and shoulders that you have spotted early. Typically, with the inverse head and shoulders, you look for it to confirm, right? It breaks the neckline, back tests the neckline, then you can treat it as an inverse head and shoulders to rock on from there. But I'm not in particular trying to advance catch inverse head and shoulders because they're going to fail more often than not. As for DOT, I don't think it's really acting out of Where is it? Where are you? I thought you were doing okay today. There you go. I don't think it's really acting out of line of anything. I think it's acting fine. How much is it up off the lows? 87, 85%. Maybe there's more catch up for it to do to catch up with the market. But yeah, I own DOT. And if you've been paying attention for the last month and a half, you would know exactly why I own DOT. So yeah, I think it's fine. Boy, I'm way behind. I need to catch up. Thank you, Joe. Dokansky, my brother, thank you for the super sticker, man. And then Pat just went wild and hooked up the chat with 50 memberships, man. Pat, again, he's up there at that level of Oscar Hernandez of supporters of the channel. Pat, you're all the time, man. Thank you very, very much. Philip Mann gives the BCB membership. Thank you, sir. DJ Frankie Flo says, if Bitcoin continues to hit its retrace and markets stay in line the way it needs to be historically, are you still optimistic about XRP reaching the full Fibonacci? Has your sentiment changed on XRP? We're just going to have to watch and see how the whole market reacts. I don't think my sentiment has changed on XRP. It's just not. It's different from what everybody else thinks on XRP. They all think it's this flip the switch. And if I buy Ripple's IPO stocks, I'm going to just totally go to the moon with my XRPs, or that there's a quantum financial system of XRP, and that there's a secret thing that's happening where all the shadow puppet masters are using XRP. And it's just not what it is, man. It's like it moves with the market, and I just try to portray that, and it gets exhaustive to have that. And then to watch the community attack other people in the space, that's very disheartening to see that stuff. I wish that would not occur, especially when we have our own challenges here. Alchemist says, my sentiment for XRP is disdain and disrespect. Yeah, I just know how the price reacts. So like what happens is your sentiment probably changes. You're getting beat up. You're getting exhausted. You're tired because the price has been flat. It hasn't been doing anything. And I always know this is how the price is. I always know it's going to move very quickly, and then it will be over very quickly. That's how it always happens. And then the rest of the time, we're like most assets, we talk about it, 90% of your time is spent in trash, and then 10% of your time is spent in good times. XRP's price moves so fast that you spend 98% of your time in trash. And then you have 2% of your time in euphoria because it happens so quickly. So it's not that anything has changed. We just have to wait for the price to move and see where it's going to get and where the rest of the market is at the time. So nothing changes with it. It just depends on how high the market is going to go right now, if XRP is ready to do something like that. And then if we start seeing the market caps reach their extensions, reach their retraces, and XRP is not doing it, then it's just not doing it. Yeah, that's it. It's not going to do it, right? But to do it right, to say it right now, you know, like we got a ways to go before we can start saying XRP is not keeping up, right? XRP's price is right here. XRP is right here in regards to total 2, right? So there's nothing unusual yet. We just have to wait for more things to happen and to see how it's going to break. And know that you're not going to get a warm hug. Like I described the other day, you're not going to get hot chocolate with XRP. You're not going to get a warm blanket. You're not going to get your mom to scratch your back and tell you everything's going to be okay. You're going to get the belt. You know? And then on your birthday, you'll be allowed to drink a Diet Coke or something. You know, it's just, that's how it always is. Guarev Giulati, Link, where would it need to go to escape range it's stuck in? Like where Bitcoin Cash got stuck. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, I mean that's where it is right now, right? It's in that same area, right? So it's got a new high in it and all, but you know this is still that same area of struggling. And so yeah, it's still just there, and it's going to be hard, like to say if it gets above here, it has escaped. It's going to all-time highs. Look how much trash it's got all the way up in here. There's a lot to go in here, and then you can go lay a bunch of fibs on top of all of it. There's a lot of stuff. So it's like essentially getting through, trying to get through its first fib right here, then you got your rest of them. And this one does happen to lay right here at the 702. So that's $38. Whether it's going to get that high right now or not, we'll have to see. But there's a lot more in here. But even, and this is the reason why focusing on stuff at the bottom is like the most important part. And that, doing it later in the game, you automatically add so much more risk because the price is already up of a pullback happening to you after you wait for things to get way up in here. But percentage wise, like if you're taking the gamble that it has to go to that one, right? So you buy here, you're trying to chase 126% gains, whereas people buying in the Wyckoff, they've already gotten the 200% gains, right? So this was where the big play was. Now the play is much more difficult in hoping that you get here, right? But what if you have the struggles along the way? What if struggle comes in at one of these ones? What if the struggle is actually right there at 50%, where that one lands perfectly before it has a big pullback, and then it goes, right? So, saying which level it has to reach in here. Again, what you have to say is now it's entered the dumb money zone, right? So it's a harder play in here. Now it becomes, okay, can I get to the peak of the range? And if it becomes the peak of the range, then it's like you sell the top of the range and then wait to see if you can escape, right? But playing in here, right? I mean, I guess you could play it here and then stop out here. But that's buy, stop, and then that's all you got. But there's no real breakouts of extreme significance in here. Every level, there's just more levels, and it takes patience and viewing what the whole market conditions are. But again, with Link, it's like one of the ones that I'm most optimistic on long term. If of all the coins out there with a chance to go into all-time highs, I put Link in that list. And it matches a lot of criteria that you need based on 2021. It's one of the top developed on coins, percentage drawdowns, inflation, all that stuff. It matches all those criteria. Problem is it's a leader, so it's already gotten a lot further than most coins are. So we're talking way over here in April. Whereas like Cardano surging, but still April's way over here, right? You're not there yet. And then, with XRP and stuff, where's April's right here, right? So XRP is up over 100% off the lows. And it's there in April right now. So it's just waiting. It seems like it's just waiting for its turn, but it's not like it's underperforming the market currently right now, like most people would seem to believe. It's just impatience. It's right in line with the market. It's actually the rest of the market that's been behind XRP, believe it or not. P Dude 215 gifted a BCB membership. Thank you, man. And Mr. Q gifted 5. You guys are very kind. Sherv says, we have sued Nexo for criminal activity. Stay away from them. They're a dangerous exchange to hold any investments on. Have a blissful weekend. Okay. I've never used them. Steve Melling says, I bought your amazing course and it has taught me so much, but I'm struggling with trying to find a retracement zone for Q&T as it retraced a good amount in the bear. Yeah, so people always ask me, why aren't you a bull on Q&T? Why aren't you in Q&T? I have problems with the charts. And people hate it when I do this. And people ask me about Q&T, and then I give my real thoughts on Q&T. I say, well, first of all, the price is very high, and second, it's already done a lot of retracing. You could take a shot at it, and there's more retracing to do, but percentage-wise, it doesn't really have the percentages to me. Like, even if it went all the way up to a 702 retracement, that's like a 200% rise. Whereas there's a lot more in other places in the market for me in particular, and especially things that have higher development activity. But yeah, this is I think your thoughts are right by saying I'm struggling, especially on Q&T. I am too, and that's why I'm not touching it. I cannot get a good enough read on this thing to feel confident with this one particular asset that I haven't touched it. And that I sometimes get donations in here. So you really need to look into QNT because of blah, blah, blah. I really don't think you should have that view. But I can't feel comfortable with this particular chart in general. And it's not a knock on QNT, the project. It's not a knock on the investors. I don't have a clear read on this one, guys. And I can't have anything where I can feel confident on it. And a lot of this has to be with me feeling confident in order for me to get into it. Like researching dev data, all that stuff, inflation rates and everything. That's great to find like the list of coins, but then I also have to have like a confident entry point. I can't feel confident here. It's just not clean. It's not clean for me to do it. And you know what? It doesn't mean it's not going to go surge. It just means I couldn't see it. And that's just kind of how I am on this one. I just don't have this. I don't have the clarity on this particular one in here. So, Steve, I don't think you're struggling in general. I think what you've picked, what you're looking at, is one that is actually an exceptionally difficult read. I'm sure you're doing much better on other ones because that one definitely is the tough one. Gregudu Bogdan gifted a BCB membership. Thank you. Black Cat says, Happy Black Cat Friday. What is the formula to determine the price? There has to be one unless it's pegged to something, right? Okay, what? What is the formula to determine price? There has to be one unless it's pegged to something, right? I'm not sure what your question is. I don't follow you, Black Cat. I'm sorry. And I know you did this over a half an hour ago, but I don't understand that question. What is the formula to determine price? There has to be one, unless it's pegged to something, right? I don't get it. Shahab Hamdan says, when XRP gets to an all-time high, there'll probably be like 10,000 people in this live stream. I would bet it would be more. I would. I've seen over 10,000 in here before, and it was during a snapshot for XRP, and that was in 2020. That was before the SEC even sued Ripple. If we had an all-time high, it'd be me and Alex Cobb competing, because Alex Cobb would be streaming like crazy, you know? Yeah, they'll be on Alex Cobb. All right. Sorry, Black Cat. I don't get it, brother. Snoopy IRL says, BCB, would you take a look at AVAX? I'm wondering, am I right? Is it breaking up to spring, or is it in a spring of Wyckoff? And I love your course. Well, it should be escaping Wyckoff, right? Everything is escaping Wyckoff right now. Escaping spring. All right, so that would be spring. So like, and the thing is too, like what just solidifies it, and I don't even have this in the video. Look at these monthly indicators. You're out, man. Look at this thing. It's gone. That, you know, the gloom and doomers had all the chances in the world, but instead they chose to be toxic on the internet, and they completely missed it. They got stuck and trapped in being toxic losers on the internet when they had their chance. And I'm not talking about people who like struggled. I'm talking about the people who like literally were. Watch your language, buddy. Who just chose to be toxic people on the internet rather than like being a good market participant. It is normal to struggle in times like these because the sentiment is so bad around you. But there's people who made fools of themselves, complete fools. And I don't forget your names, guys. But yeah, so this is escaped, man. If you're not happy about what's going on in this market right now, and you're like, well, my Telegram group still says 12K. Good luck, man. Good luck. The monthly indicators on everything are just crushing it. And AVAX, yeah, you look good. I mean, you're killing it, right? Wyckoff, sign of strength, out. You're way past spring. So your question's on spring. So this is kind of a morphed. This one's a little morphy. That's your spring. Here and here. I think the problem with AVAX, though, and why this dips lower, let me see if this is true. So it's like borderline on inflation, right? It's at 21% inflation. Let's see how its market cap did. Yeah, it still dips, but it's not terrible. So it dips too. But there you go. There's your market cap, right? So if AVAX, you're completely out. But right, the price chart tilted a little bit. Why? Inflation. What are we on up here? Weekly? Okay, weekly. Oh, turn that off. There you go. So you're not quite through here on the price chart yet, but as you can clearly see, market cap's way out. That was the stall here for the market cap at the peak of this range. Sign of strength, blast, it's out. But the opportunity was way back here, right? The opportunity was way back here for all those who were screaming for Bitcoin dominance for the all of October. AVAX is up 224%. No moves here in Bitcoin. Of 63 come close to that, right? So that chance is gone for the Bitcoiners. If they do, they essentially surrender all of 2023's gains if they sell Bitcoin to buy AVAX at this point. And that situation is happening left and right. Left and right, left and right, left and right. The quality stuff, the stuff with the higher developer data, has already taken away those Bitcoin dominance chasers' opportunities. Chainlink, way gone, right? Cardano saying goodbye. AVAX, see ya, right? Solana, not a chance, right? All those ones that the market really wants, the Bitcoin dominance chasers lost all of them. They have to go chase further down the list now. They got to go, they're going to become meme coin chasers in the end. Which we won't do here, guys. We're not going to, and you know that we never do that. I know some of you want that. We just don't do that here. There's plenty of accounts out there that will pump and dump on you, no problem. And just so you know, the worst thing about the term meme coin is what we used to call these back in the day was pump and dump scams. But there's now been a cultural shift of marketing to call them meme coins now. And so they don't sound as threatening and as dangerous because they sound fun and exciting. But we all know they are pump and dump scams and promoted that way. And to just, you always know it. They pump really hard and then lights out, game over, right? All right, Robert Conus. Thank you, Pat. Oh, he got hooked up and he's just throwing a super chat. Thank you for the member. Brittany Blue. Hey, can you take a look at the reverse repo chart? We love your videos. Keep up the great work and thank you. Yeah, we can take a peek over there real quick. There it is. $825 billion. That's Bitcoin. For fun, in my video that I'm putting out today, that I'm putting out once Markets in the Morning is over, I've included the screenshot of that person is not real. That girl and the plane and the Bitcoin 4-year cycle halving stuff. I included that in today's video because this is it, right? Bitcoin, crypto, equities, it's all one big ebb and flow. It is not magic 4-year cycles of block reward halvings. It's not Bitcoin ETF. It is liquidity flows in markets. There you go. Ready Blue, I mean, you're down to 825. So majority of it has been drained. You've gone from 2.55 trillion to 0.825 trillion, right? So that is the vast majority. There's still more room to go, but we're nearing it, right? So this has always been like that secret weapon the Fed has had without needing to cut interest rates and without needing to do any type of quantitative easing, that they had essentially created a stockpile of opening up this reverse repo facility of overnight lending. And it was taken advantage of to only have to lend the money at overnight, but you get the federal funds rate rather than having to risk being in those longer duration treasuries. But now the market is escaping the short duration. Why? Because they're probably scooping up a bunch of those treasuries now, not anticipating that the Fed will not sustain these types of rates for long. And that would, in essence, mean the window to get these rates on these treasuries and these long duration treasuries, the window of time is not very long either. So bail the money out of the reverse repo for one night rates and lock in the long duration rates is what's likely happening, because the market anticipates that the Fed is not going to be able to sustain these rates for long. And that is why the reverse repo is draining. Thank you, Brittany. XRP John, member for 3 months. Hey, I'm a truck driver for FedEx, and I listen to you every morning, even though I can't see the charts. LMAO. You're awesome, and thank you. Thank you, XRP John. So I'm like your podcaster. That's cool. We talked about that earlier this week. I think there is a lot of people, and they're not necessarily even just lurkers, but they're probably doing just what you're doing. See, I was not fair. I talked about my hammer swingers, and I talked about my accountants, but totally forgot my truck drivers. But now we got the FedEx truck driver, but we also have the famous UPS driver on here, Mint Man, right? If I got that right, I think it's Mint Man, right? I sound like a total jerk if I forgot. Super chats all the time. He chats in here all the time. I might have it wrong. But yeah, we have a UPS driver and we have a FedEx driver. And I haven't even had anybody tell me they're an accountant, but I assume there is some accountant out there. And he's like, this is my escape because like what I do is really, really boring. I hate numbers, but this gets me by. And then the hammer swingers, they're all like, yeah, BCB. Yeah, BCB. And of course, I imagine the personality of blockchain trucker swinging hammers, but he's not a hammer swinger. He's a truck driver like you are. Okay, I'm moving on. Consetta Costa Erhardt, thank you very much for the super sticker. Jeremy DeCoco with a super chat, but no message. There we go. Followed it right up after there with a message and says, hey, my wife texted me because I was laughing like a madman yesterday in the garage after you said, I'm not charging my friggin' car. Cheers, BCP. It's true, man. I've weighed it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If I need to have my vehicle refilled with fuel, it needs to happen in under 3 minutes. I do not have however long it takes you guys over there in your little corner where you sit there with your little superchargers. How long you got to hang out there. And you're like, hey, look, man, it just gives me an opportunity to go inside and get a cup of coffee and like stand around and like look at things in a gasoline parking lot. And like, yeah, well, okay, you got to stand around. You got to look at things in a gasoline parking lot. And then you got to actually spend money on the coffee too. And then you got to deal with people inside the store. And then what if you're on a long car trip and you run out of fuel or electricity? And I'm going to be real. I'm going to be real. Totally wrong. I'm gonna make so many EV people angry. It's not like it's zero like carbon footprint, okay? Like electricity, like you have to burn carbon to like make electricity, right? You're burning coal, right? Whether a part of it is or isn't, like there's still like you are not like a hippie. I like the numbers come out and it would take like 8 years for you to have half the carbon footprint of somebody using gasoline, and it's only half. It's not like you've gone from 100% to zero. You went down to half. That's not huge. Okay, all right, I'll stop there. Good, it's cool, but they're fast. I'll give them that, man. Teslas are really fast. Okay, moving on. All right, Alberta's Cowboy said, "Hey, bro, is ADA still following Ethereum Classic Fractal?" Yeah, well, so we could play with that. It was for fun. Here's what would oh dang, that thing's still going. Here's what would happen in the event that ADA was following the Ethereum Classic Fractal and the doomy doom that you would have up next. You have Mooney Moon. By the way, we started this thing on this channel right down here. Yeah, you'd have something like that, like 83, 84, 85 cents, and then wham, burn. I'm not so sure that is the case next. I'm not so sure. Would it back to us the top of the range? I would think that's logical to come back down here and like at least hit 38 cents at some point. You know, whether or not you're going to doomtown it like that. If it doomtowned like that, I'd buy it. I'd buy more. But yeah, so that's how crazy that thing was, percentage wise, structure wise, or correction wise, and then this thingy going on right in here. So your guess is as good as mine. If there's going to be some resistance in here, I'm going to treat it that there will be. I will be taking some profits here in the event that we can get that high. Anticipating that there will be a pullback again, and then I'll reload those in there. So what will I do if it just keeps shooting up higher from that and I don't get to re-enter my profits? I'll put them in my pocket and I'll go buy more gasoline for my vehicle. Okay. Julian Robbins, member for 2 months, say, I've been here since XRP was 20-cent days. Ugh. I remember buying the dip before the lawsuit. Ugh. Then really buying the dip. Well, then that was a good one, right? Let the good times roll, brother. Julian, yeah, it's been a journey, right? I hope this can be our victory day. I hope this can be where the redemption happens. Jonas Fugalis says, we love you in Lithuania, BCB. Oh, dude, let's go. Lithuania. That's cool. Longtime heritage of Lithuania. That's cool. Nikolay Valkanov. Hey, BCB, do you think that Link making a new high and potentially above the prices of April 2022 is bullish for the whole altcoin market? Thank you. I don't know if it's necessarily bullish for the whole altcoin. I don't think you just by looking at one asset, you can derive how the rest of the market is going to do. Like, okay, Bitcoin, maybe. Ethereum, maybe. Chainlink, difficult to say that is the indicator for the rest of the market. It was a leader of the market. It could just get carried away. Hard to. And I know, like, and let's address this elephant in the room really quick, because I'm going to be very consistent with this, okay, moving forward. And we're not there now, but it's going to happen when sentiment changes. And you may think, sentiment changes? Yeah, we're going to reach euphoria. We're going to reach absolute, complete euphoria. And that's going to be when we get back into the retracement levels, higher for Bitcoin, higher for altcoin market. It's going to be constant super chats coming in, constant chats over here on the right side of the screen or in the chat room, wherever it is on your screen. Do you think we're going to get through the retracement levels? I will be very clear here. I don't know the answer on if we're going to get through the retracement levels. I've told you time and time again for the last years to head back to the retracement levels. I've showed you the Wyckoff accumulations and remained confident at the bottom while the world is screaming for doom. I loaded up on it, discussed it at the times when I was doing it, and showed you that we would ABC, we'd have a cruel summer, it would be torturous, I'd be buying at the end of that that retail would sell the bottom, that there would be springs, and what happens in springs is designed to shake retail out of the lows as large players enter in their positions. I showed you when the springs happened. Now we're breaking up and we're getting through the sign of strength. And as we head back up, we're heading to retracement levels. And as we get to the retracement levels, it is constantly going to be, are we going to get through the retracement levels? Have you changed your opinion? Do you think that maybe we will get through the retracement? We have to stop. We're at the retracement levels. That's a third range boundary, okay? Professional traders will take profits at third range boundaries. We do not know. What you will have, and I'm telling you this right now, is constant YouTube content telling you we're going to the all-time high. You will have constant YouTube content telling you this is moon. Constant Twitter content, this is moon. We are breaking out and surging. Why? Because it appeases what you want. Your viewership is going to be attracted to people telling you it's going to all-time highs. If you can't recognize that's what happens in this market, you're going to constantly get suckered by the tops, and then you're going to constantly sell the bottoms. And if that happened to you in 2021 where you believed in 100K, and then it happened to you at the bottom where you believed it was going to 12K, it's only going to happen to you again. I'm telling you. Promise. It will happen to you again. So once you can understand retail is always on the wrong side, the crowd is always on the wrong side, and recognize the content creation and the content creators who create their content based on retail sentiment at the time, you can kind of get an idea. Who's your counter indicators? Who is making certain types of content at certain types of time, and has that consistently been wrong? And I'm not sitting here saying I'm going to be 100% right, because I'm not. But who is making content to appease what the crowd behavior wants? Because what is crowd behavior right now? It is greed. Okay. So I think we're going into extreme greed right now. I think we're going to get there. And then when we get there, a lot of people, BCB, do you think we're only going to retrace? Do you not think it's going to go higher? Is this it? Not going to do it? Are we going to go? And nothing is going to change. It doesn't matter what words come out of my mouth. Like right now, in this exact moment, if you're not looking at the retraces as they're going to be a struggle and they're going to be a problem, like there's always a statistical chance of anything, right? Anything can end up happening, but people will grasp onto the maybes. Maybe this time is different. In most circumstances, there's big problems at retracement levels. And so be prepared for that, that they likely will show up. And on that note, I think we're going to have a really exciting time right now. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. But I'm staying 2 steps ahead, and I'm preparing for what's next. We had extreme retail sentiment down here, extreme content creation. I watched multiple accounts of people that have over 300,000 followers on Twitter. How many times did you guys see this? Oh, come on. How many times did you see this on Twitter? How many major accounts did you see that exact same thing from? I saw it from a lot. All right. So what I'm saying is they're blindsided. They're blindsided by this move, is what I'm saying. Now what they have to settle with themselves is, like, imagine being a content creator where you had this big fat arrow right here, okay? And I'm just telling you that, like, just thinking it from a content creator perspective and how content would have to be presented in a situation like that, where you did that and then the market ripped up, and that's where the market is right now, right? Let's take it off. That has occurred. Now, how do you create your content from here? Now you have to create your content, and like if you were going to be a reasonable professional person who says we're in a third range boundary, and now we're in the danger zones, How do you tell your audience, hey, just so you know, now it's actually the danger zones. Now we actually do risk this kind of stuff now. Your audience just isn't going to like you. Then, especially if it goes up a little higher. Okay, well, still, guys, this is definitely the danger zone. We need to be careful in here. They're not going to listen to you. They're going to not trust you. They're not going to like anything, because all you've done is do that the whole time, and the market just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing, and you get to this point. So what do? You just flip. You just flip and say, we're going to the moon. And then the audience loves you, because the audience's sentiment is in greed. They want to hear moon content. So once you can think of it that from perspective, and it's hard to do that because you think, oh, they have a large following, they must know what they're doing. Look how much they can get wrong. 100K, 12K, 12K. Now what? If you're just going to look at it from technical reality, you are entering into this kind of danger zone, right? This not kind of is entering into this danger zone. And I will get asked constantly, PCB, has your mind changed? Do you think we're going to get through it? It's the danger zone, guys. It's just that simple. The market has to prove itself one way or another. What I could do for you on the channel was come on here and be cocky and confident that we were going back, right? That is the $1 million question right here. But what you're going to have is you're going to have lots of content creators who pointed down, 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 now telling you we're going to go up, 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 up. And they don't know that. They don't know that. They couldn't get you here. And so just be careful, right? And like I always say, I never name names. I'm not here to throw somebody's name under the bus. I'm just throwing the general sentiment under the bus. Because the crowd's always wrong. And so just knowing this is where it's at, this is the struggle area, you got to it. You got to it. If you got washing machined all along the way, it's unfortunate. You're still going to continue in here, likely. It's still going to be a very big washing machine for Bitcoin right in here. But if I could imagine the most bullish scenario from my perspective of what happens in here, of what if I was to create this and say Bitcoin is a bull market, right? If I was to say Bitcoin is a bull market, what would that look like? I would suspect it to look more something like this. Okay. So if we get that and we get back to 30 and 32 and it holds some supports there, and then it just kind of gradually grinds its way back up, I can entertain that from here. But in this time period, I can't entertain higher prices. Does it mean it won't and just prove me wrong and just goes right through it? Of course, that could always happen, but I'm not going to believe that it's going to happen until it does. And what my strategy does is it got me from here to here and didn't wash me out anywhere along the ways. It got me all the way up. But then in here, like I've always said, this is where I've got to take some off the table because I'm willing to miss a lot of this area to let the market prove itself. And then I can start re-entering back in here if that ends up being the case. And I just made a complete mess of my chart. But either way, I will get asked that a lot in the coming weeks. Just don't misconstrue any of the words or try to interpret them in different ways or try to read me as an indicator to say, oh, he kind of said it in a different way this time. No. Have your own belief system. Understand your own charts. Understand third range boundaries. Understand retracement levels. You looking for doom at the bottom and then looking for more doom is the same thing as looking for moon at the top when there's already been moon. But this is, we go back. It's a return to mean function that happens in markets. But as we get back in here to get through them, it's just, the market has to prove itself beyond there. And I'm not going to sit here and say I believe one way or the other. What I'm just going to blatantly say is this is typically where problems happen at. That's it. Do you think it's going to do anything? Don't know. But this is typically, I thought we'd get back here, but this is now typically where problems happen. And so we'll have to see how it goes from there. Jonas Fugalis gifted a BCB membership. Thank you, Jonas. Baby Oscar Hernandez says, Gugu Gaga, mis amigo. Mis amigos. Thank you, baby Oscar Hernandez. We haven't seen Oscar Hernandez today. I heard rumors in the rumor mill from, I heard it from Eric, that he has been on a 72-hour fast. You guys don't want anything to do with me if I did that. And then there's Eric Martinez, who gifted a BCB. Eric Martinson. Did I like mix like Oscar Hernandez and like turn you into Martinez? I don't know. Eric Martinson gifted a BCB membership. Thank you, brother. Chasing News says, hey, BC, big fan of yours for a long time. Could you take a look at Near Protocol? I mean, it's just doing exactly what the rest of the market is. Near has some issues with it in regards to like development activity and developer abandonment. But the price chart looks like it's just doing what the rest of the market is doing. So nothing crazy there. But things that have like led to tell you whether or not this is one of those assets, like when you have a K recovery, right, where market falls, then it determines the K recovery of happening in here. One thing that seemed to be very influential on K recoveries in 2021 on ups or downs, it ended up being developer activity and developer growth. And I know that Near has had a big loss of full-time developers happening for it. As for the current price action right now, seems to be operating just fine, just with the rest of the market. It's slingshotting, it's way back up. I'm assuming the monthly indicators look awesome on it too. Yeah, pointing straight up. Just like the rest of the market, kind of just waiting until we get to the pivotal moment of the market where it likely is going to struggle up in here. But we still have quite a ways to go on here on several of these altcoin market caps to get close to reaching those spots. So Near, same story, looks fine. It does have a couple of things going against it long term when it comes to like development. Thank you, Chasing News. Gary Guam, would you have thoughts on KSM or TIA? Thanks, BCB. Appreciate everything. I don't have much thoughts on KSM because I just don't know about it. That's Kusama. I just don't have enough education on it to know. TIA, I also don't have a tremendous amount of education on it, probably absolutely none. But it is one of those ones that even when I went to Consensus back in the spring of this year and watched the reports and the conference and speeches by Electric Capital with a development report, Celestia, which is what TIA is, was one of those ones that had one of the highest development activities in there and with developer growth. However, the token launch had not happened yet. And so we just watched the token launch happen about a month ago, finally. The coin ripped into that. It started out at like $2, $2.50. I think currently right now it sends probably about $10. So it's been crushing it. But still, there haven't been any pullbacks. I'd go back and watch markets in the morning this past week where we actually did have a moment where we talked about TIA for about 5 minutes or so. Just the challenges with it, especially it being a new coin and ripping out of the gates, having to wait to kind of just wait for a pullback. I own some, right? But I can't re-enter it with it being straight up, the straight line up. I just can't. I entered when the thing launched, so I got it at like $2.50, whatever, $2.40, $2.30, $2.50, I don't know, somewhere in that area. But now being at $10, it's essentially just been a straight line up. So once it gets like a real pullback in it, I'll probably start looking at it a little bit closer to potentially add more. But until then, there's nothing I can do about it. But thank you, Gary. Or do you go by Gary? Gary Guan. Thank you, brother. Dr. Tai says, XRP knows you're not special. So hit the likes. You think you're special? XRP knows you're not special. You want your back scratched? Please. XRP is your junior high school computer science teacher telling you you're not special. Thank you, Dr. Tai. Henry says, question, while you got that spot on Bitcoin, you think you got the altcoin bull market wrong? You sold Bitcoin for altcoins, but alts didn't run after that. Well, you got the spot. Well, we've already talked about this in depth. So you must just be brand new, Henry, or you just walked away from the market entirely. This has been talked about in extreme detail. Where is Bitcoin chart? Let me use this one. That's because the misinterpretation of the market
is this is the peak of the market. Even though we have coins set new all-time highs, this is the peak. I think this has probably been hit on the head, Henry, probably 50 times. Every indicator on the market shows you that this was the peak here. But it didn't show up on itself and make itself apparent until the confusion of why are we showing a massive depth bear market fractal way in here? And that was the misread. Knowing we'd go to an all-time high, but we actually did it this deep into the bear market. This was the peak. Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live was your peak all season. That was the end. That was the end of it all. So you have to, so that's why anybody interpreting this as being the peak of the market, and if you've gotten all this misread at this point, we've been talking about it for 2 years now, practically. I guess there's an exaggeration. 1 year and 6 months. This was not the peak of the market. This was. And so any interpretation of this market in any other manner, which I know there are many people who have spent all this time in here still continuing to point to this being the peak of the market, and it's not. The only thing about this is that the price is slightly higher than this, but the peak of the market is here. This is the top. And so you had to recognize all this time in here, all these people calling for 12K, you were calling for something to show up and set a new low, yet you're still trying to compare this to past bull runs. You were trying to call for a 12K after this type of moment. After all this had already happened, you're trying to say we're going to 12K. And that's because they're still using this as the peak. And what's wrong is even using this as the peak still wouldn't have given you the 12K. So the thing of it, we all knew we got the top. we got the new all-time high. But the question is, why did we get the all-time high? Even though we knew it was coming, why did we get it? And that was the whole problem. Is what likely should have happened here in this market, and that would have changed the view of everything, is if this actually went about that high. Then it would have made it a whole lot more clearer. But all of our indicators point to this was the top of the market. So there you go. Crypto Hero, hi human from the future. Say hello to my wife Lubna and kids Senna and Anas. I appreciate what you do. You bring the calm down, no doubt. Keep it alpha. Thank you very much, Crypto Hero. Sean Everett says, longtime lurker, finally got to respond from the other day. Let's go. What's up, Sean? Hugh D says, how many swear words can you say in 10 seconds? Go. Hugh D for a $2 super chat. That's not gonna make it happen, buddy. I think, what's the worst one I've dropped on stream? I don't know. I really do try to keep this thing PG. A lot of people play this in front of their kids. And I want it to be that your wife is not upset at you that you've put me on the television in your living room and your kids are walking by. That it's all cool. And that your kids are like, hey! And that your wife says, hey, is that hey guy? You're like, yeah, he's awesome. She's like, oh, okay. All right, JB Heavy. I'm skipping some. Dennis Wayne gifted a BCB membership. Thank you very much. Mar D, new member. Welcome as a backer. JB Heavy Equipment Services. 702 crew. Thoughts on H-bar retrace or new market cap all-time high? I don't know. I think everybody wants a little bit more like focus on individual altcoins. I think I'm trying to portray the message pretty well, guys. This is just a whole market move up. Wait for the market caps to get to their levels, and then whatever. You're looking for odds on specific ones doing anything. It's gonna be difficult. Like the things you should be focusing on are the things I've tried to portray in the newsletters for the last 3 weeks. The things I keep not 3 weeks, last month and a half. Which anybody who did focus on that stuff. That's way back in here in late October, where you got all that alpha just dripped all over you. Way back in here. So, yeah. but we'll see, JB. Concetta Costa Earnhardt gifts 1 BCB membership. Thank you very much. It's Earhart. Super Chad says, in summer, your favorite food is brisket. What is your winter food? Love your videos, bud. I will continue watch all your content. Well, brisket's still great, and I don't mind cooking. I actually prefer cooking it in the winter, but it is a little bit harder to do temperature control of a smoker in the winter. I try to stay healthy, guys. Like, I try to eat healthy. I do. But I have slip-ups, too, man. I'll go on binges. Like, right now we got, like, I make a killer fettuccine Alfredo. Killer. You can't beat it. No restaurant can beat it. You would agree if you tasted it. You'd say it's the best I've ever had. And I'd say, I know. I've got, like, a whole batch of it in my refrigerator right now that's leftovers. And, like, even leftovers in the microwave is just killer. And I'm talking to you, man. I'm like a slob with this stuff. I'll get a plate. I'll heat it up in the microwave at 9 o'clock at night and go lay down in bed and eat a plate of fettuccine Alfredo in bed. Like, it's bad. But whenever it's done and we're out, like, I try not to make that again for some time. But, you know, whenever we order pizza, dude, guilty, man. Totally. I think those are my sucker foods, are pizza and fettuccine. For the most part, though, I'm pretty good. Like, as I said, I make a shake every day for breakfast. I'm very bland, boring, and normal, and not normal. I don't know if that's normal, but consistent and repetitive, and a creature of habit when it comes to morning and breakfast. The bad food decisions don't typically get made until after 6 p.m. My wife cooks dinner for me every night, which I'm very grateful for. She is very special. And she typically makes really good decisions for what we eat. We typically eat salmon, we eat chicken. If we eat burgers or something, we eat them on keto buns, and we have that 97.3 or 96.4 beef. We get the lean beef. So typically pretty good decisions. But if I'm going to please I don't know, that slob in me, it's got to be the fettuccine and pizza. That's it. All right. Thank you, Super Chad. Tony S says the accountant voice was hilarious. I don't think I could even do it again if I wanted to. Thank you. Pitbull says, hello, BCB. I hope you're fine. Can you please take a look at Dash? And which Wyckoff phase is it at the moment? Thanks. And I don't even know if Dash is in Wyckoff. We haven't even looked at it anymore. It's one of those ones that we talked about. When was it? A year and a half ago I got out of Dash. Where are you? There you are. Oh my gosh. Right. This is one that's likely, my best guess, not coming back. Like, maybe it does. I just don't see it. There's no there's some development. I saw it on Santiment the other day. I was like, holy crap, there's a little bit of development activity over there on Dash. Let me see if it's still there. I was surprised. I thought it was just dead. I'm pulling it up right now. But yeah, I don't consider that Wyckoff at all. I consider it just moving with the market. And if anything, if that thing got back to $100, it'd be hard pressed to get beyond that at that point. Where are you? I thought it had like an 80 score or something on it. Maybe not anymore. Maybe that was temporary. There it is. Yeah, there it is. We're 43. So not dead. There you go. But I wouldn't consider it Wyckoff. But if it gets like a market push with it. Let's roll with it. Oh no, you didn't. All right, then I gotta. Okay, yeah, I knew you would. All right, I'm not gonna feed you guys because you know what you're trying to do to me. Sure. He says, what are your thoughts on solar panels instead of the grid? I like the idea of solar panels, but I'm not a fan of putting a deed on my house and taking out a loan to have them and paying that off for 30 years. And then if I really wanted it, doubling the cost of it by having a storage battery also placed on the side of the house. So I haven't priced them out in a long time. But I would want price to come down. Boy, I'm going to have to wrap this up, guys. We're in an hour and 25 minutes. Everybody's just like waiting on my YouTube video. Jaxer, oh no, my mom found my emotional log. Now she's calling her church friends to pray the demons away from me. I'm not a demon, Ma. I'm just being raw. Dude, Jaxer, let's go. I know it's a joke, but it's brilliant. There you go. Hey, are you guys writing in your emotional logs? You better be. You better be. Today, especially. How you feeling? You feeling good? You feel the weight off your chest? Document it. You got a whole year of like crying. Time to document that you're not crying anymore. You know what I mean? Because then when you move forward, if this thing gets carried away even more, it may get to the point where you're like, wait a minute, I think we're actually going to the moon. Oh my gosh, it's never coming down ever again. Then the rug gets pulled out from underneath of it. Sorry, hit the mic. The rug gets pulled out from underneath of it. And then you're like, it just crashed 50%. And then you go back and you have that in your log. And you're like, dude, there was this day where I like legit thought it could never come down ever again. And then the next day it went down 50%. And you document that. And then you like look back on that and you say, okay, when I'm acting like that, I know to be very, very cautious. And it's the same thing of when you're acting mad and angry and raw and upset at lows. That, you know? Tattooed Bandit says 100% crypto new from 2020. Portfolio saw the moon and then face planted. Was still able to take some profits and bought these dips because of you. Thanks for fixing my disabled veteran brain. God bless, dude. Let's go. It's good that you're still around. So like what typically happens is, you know, people disappear and then they come back later. They come back when the prices are all up. The hardest part is being a buyer when everything is absolutely hideous and horrible. It's the hardest thing to do because what we want is it to at least turn around really quick. And it usually doesn't. We usually have to sit there for some time and it's just hard and no one around you is providing very much hope and optimism. And if anything, most people are pointing that things are going to get even worse. And that's a really hard time to sit there and go through it. It's nice to see a lot of that behind us now. Thank you, Tattooed Bandit. Joe Mad says, BCB, your sentiment interview was fire. Perhaps a long-form interview with a guest focusing on on-chain stuff at some point. Thank you for everything, brother. Thank you, man. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, we don't do that kind of stuff very often, do we? You know, the main reason I did that is, you know, we've been in this opportunity, and I've been trying to like really crush out content on the altcoin market because I've been anticipating that we'd get this sign of strength breakout happening in here for the altcoins, and there just wasn't much time left to like kind of like figure out how you're gonna get placed. Are we gonna make the same mistakes again? Are we gonna let content creators show us coins, or are we gonna have a tried and true method to try to improve odds? And so that's the content I've been trying to put out. And everything improves odds. It seems that if you focus on particular data, that it improved odds, whether that's focusing on like eliminating extremely high inflation, or if it's focusing on things that had more shallow drawdowns. But really, the most in particular, it seems that the most important metric was focusing on development activity. It seems to be the hands down winner of all of them. Now, it doesn't hurt to use development activity along with inflation data, along with percentage drawdowns, and combine them all three to make like a superpower list. But if out of all three, it does seem like the main one. If you're gonna have a list of assets and you're like, look, I want to buy 10 assets and I don't know which ones to buy, and I'm just gonna throw darts. Right. And you like pick your lists that you're going to throw at. You're going to throw out either like the top 20 by market cap, or the top 20 by development activity, or the top 20 by their percentage drawdowns, or the top 20 by, best inflation. Right. Like it seems like no matter what, the list you want to be throwing the darts at is the development activity list. Right. It doesn't mean you're going to 100% of your darts are going to land on winners. But if you threw your darts at the top 20 by market cap, and in 2021, you would have only landed out of your 10 darts, only 2 of them would have landed on anything worthwhile. But if you would have thrown your darts over at the development activity list, 6 out of 10 would have landed on something good. And that's enough to make a significant difference, right? There's a difference between, having a doubling of the portfolio at least, based on the math of what happened in 2021. So when I did that interview with Santiment, it's because that data is very important. I get it. There's some people who like that. There's some people who didn't like that. Some people don't want to have to research anything and do anything and have their own convictions. They really do just want content creators to tell them what to buy and sell. And if it doesn't pan out, yell at them, right? Without doing anything. But what you can do is build your own conviction in there and like have your assets to look at. And then I teach you all the other stuff that's important when it comes to charts, right? Where are the resistance levels or the retrace levels, how to do those things and find those things on those charts. And what the developer list does, it at least gives you the chance to say, hey, these ones had a better shot at going into all-time highs. These ones had a better chance at having higher percentage returns. Then all the other work comes from doing the charting, right? So I'm glad you liked it. And we don't do it very often. And I don't know, on-chain's okay. Like I don't really love it. Like, and the person I respect the most for on-chain is TXMC. And even he doesn't focus on it a whole lot anymore because he thinks there's so many problems with that data that we try to create a bullish narrative out of that on-chain data when it comes to Bitcoin in particular, like value days destroyed, hodl waves, and all that stuff. Like we're just trying to create more than there is. And that you're not going to get true alpha out of it to like make actual reactionary decisions with it. It's like super lagged. It's almost kind of like looking at what the Fed looks at. They're like looking at really backdated data. That you're kind of doing that same thing with on-chain. If anything to look at that's happening live, that's why I showed those wallets earlier today, wallets with greater than 10 Bitcoin, to show they're distributing here. They normally don't do that till all-time highs, but they're already doing it now. So we'll see. If I do, it would be TXMC. He's the only guy I'd bring on for that. Otherwise, I think all of them are very biased to create a bullish narrative because they sell the Bitcoin narrative and their business models are focused around Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. Instead of giving a true opinion of Bitcoin, it's constant bull Bitcoin. And I try to remain as real about that, the block reward halving is BS. It's nonsense. It's not real. It's not influential on the market. It's completely the dynamic forces of the entire market combined. So, all right. I got to get through this stuff, man. I'm at 1 hour and 33 minutes, and there's all these people who are like, YouTube video. It's been since Tuesday. Hook me up, BCB. Okay. Thank you, Joe Mad. Spear Chain Frontier, you got our back. I got your front. Huh. Okay. Thank you. Van Media, thank you very much. Very generous. He says, hey, BCB, your loyalties lurker here. I'm not sure how to word my question, but basically, when told market cap hits 1 trillion, what? Okay, when market cap hits 1 trillion, roughly, what price range should Bitcoin be at? Right. So when the Bitcoin market cap hits $1 trillion, that's roughly about like $51.5 thousand. As we get closer, I will be bringing it up every day. And your favorite Bitcoin FOMO narrative sellers will be constantly on Twitter saying, Bitcoin's getting to $1 trillion. Oh my gosh, it's going in the moon. You gotta believe it. That's the, but that happens to be our 702 retracement. So maybe the way it pans out, right, is like it gets to the 702 retracement, bam, it gets whacked down hard. And then later on in life, right, one day it gets through $1 trillion, which also happens to be at 702 retracement level. And it's not that it cleared $1 trillion that was the significant event that occurred. It's the fact that it cleared the 702 retracement that was the major event. For another day. If you haven't listened to a word I said, I got to repeat it again because there's so many people who are like, oh, I gotta read BCB like a riddle. We are at a third range boundary. If you're not expecting the third range boundary to cause major problems, you live in a fantasy. That's what I gotta say. And that's not what you're saying, Van. I'm just being a jerk. Okay. You were very generous. I appreciate it. 1 trillion. It's a little bit over 50,000, but less than 52. Slow and low. There you go. Slow and low. He's like, hey, what about brisket, dude? You don't like fettuccine? Come on over back to the brisket. Jordan Norvell, new member. Welcome. Thank you. Slow and low says, shout out to Emmanuel, the crypto king. Huh. Okay. I thought we were talking about smoking meat, but then we're talking about Emmanuel. I don't know who that is. Oscar Hernandez. He's here. Free digital pizza if you hit the like button. Oscar, thank you, sir. Spags, I call out YouTubers for stealing your TA, HBAR, XRP. Oh, that's cool. It doesn't stop them, though. That's okay. It's okay. You see, the thing is that, like, what's okay about it is when they take it, I know they get called out on it. And then, like, I know, like, people do eventually make their way to my content. And then they watch their content, like, wait a minute, this is something BCB said yesterday, or this is something BCB said this morning. And so, like, then eventually they do realize it came from me, and then they become avid watchers of the channel. So you actually don't ever see me accusing people of stealing my content. I've been doing this for years. I don't ever do it. So, but yeah, they hang out here. They watch the content. They regurgitate it. That's live. So, all right. Life of Shane. I see you, MI, or your MSC Apple puts down 20% and 40%. Yeah. Send them to the ground, man. It looks like they're going to. They're going to. Last time I checked, they weren't down 40%. They were down about like 18. They were entered in right here on the 20th. Even though the price of Microsoft is down from there, the puts are down. They are negative a little bit. But Apple is up for sure. So there you go. Apple's back fighting up in here in this gap. So we'll take it all day, right? So as a hedge play, shorts to protect this, and the hope was this would just surge and send the shorts to zero, which fingers crossed still that is the case. Janice Blease. In the developer report, all the data is updated to October 1st. Why? Same for you. How can I get more up to date? Oh, is it the same for you? Janice, that's a quarterly update. So they update quarterly on developer report. On Sentiment, they update every day. But on developer report, it's a quarterly update. Oscar Hernandez gives a BCB membership. Parzaval FXC says XRP is pushing 67 cents. Let's go. Cue the Cobb stream. Again, we're just stuck, right? This is the dumb money zone. These are retraces. We have to break through significant boundaries on either side. Whether that's these large boundaries over here or these large boundaries over here, no matter which range we look at, you're at 50% here, you're below 50% here, you're totally range bound. So the place to actually legitimately get excited
is above like 87 cents for XRP. Otherwise, we have to kind of assume it's a lot of range bouncing. But if you get above 87, we could be in something more significant happening in there. George Alexanderopoulos says, "Happy Friday. I appreciate all the alpha you give us. Can you go over what went wrong with Dow Jones fractals? What were we looking at wrong on the daily lows?" Yeah, so the Dow is just so here's what the challenge is with the Dow. So the Dow has a tendency to be very waddly and just being a hard read, right? So this ends up being your pivot. This is your pivot. This is your pivot. This is your pivot. These are just waves along the way, right? So this one got taken out. This one got taken out. In most examples, that ends up being a problem, but obviously not here. So that's your pivot. That's your pivot. That's your pivot. That's your pivot right in there. And we just get like going back in here, right? You get lots of big moves, and that's why the Dow is a challenge. It does it in here too. And it does it in here. How sloppy the Dow in particular actually is. And then just going on for so long. So Dow's a challenge, Dow's an index. But when you look at the NDXT, that one's almost did it again. That one's pretty darn clear. That's just an ABC. All right. So Dow as an index, and again, that's a lot of things where we talk about, you have to live and breathe within a particular chart and know the way that it does operate. We always want to use moving averages and pretend like they matter. If you went and tried to use moving averages on the XRP price chart, they practically don't work at all. But they work on Bitcoin and they work on Ethereum, but they wouldn't work on XRP. And so having to understand the particular asset you're trading in, these retracements, this is where the Dow constantly gets sloppy right back in these things and just becomes a dang nightmare in here. And that's going to be the problem, guys. That is going to be the problem with Bitcoin, okay? When we get back into retracement levels on Bitcoin, everybody's going to be like, hey, are we going to get out? Are we going to break out? Are we going to go? What's your conviction? I kind of read the riddle of what you said right there. Does that mean we're getting out? It's going to be a nightmare back in here. Getting back to retracements is what happens, and then everything gets sloppy AF after that. And that's what the Dow was, right? The Dow was, we'll get back to retracements, and then we spent one whole year being sloppy as can possibly be, going up and down and around those retracements. And now it looks like we're getting through them all. So here's how sloppy they were last time. Here's how sloppy they are this time. Just difficult in general. There you go. Hey, BCB. Oh, Van Media. Hey, BCB, another question. Sorry, the last one I wrote, I was in bed and made some mistakes. Is Ethereum in the same position as Bitcoin? I thought I had the Ethereum chart up. I must have done something with it. So Bitcoin is as if Ethereum is at $3,175 right now. So Ethereum is lagged behind Bitcoin currently right now. So Ethereum would have more room to go to catch up to Bitcoin. And so would the altcoin market caps, right? So would total 2, so would total 3, so would others. They'd all have quite a bit of ways to go to catch up to where Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is now caught up to places where things like XRP have already gotten to, where Bitcoin Cash has gotten to, Chainlink, et cetera, and several other assets. But yeah, no, it still have a little ways to go. 31.75 would be an equivalent price to where Bitcoin is right now. But okay. Whew.
All right, guys, there you have it. Made it through. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful weekend. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. It looks like the stock market had somewhat of a recovery here. How's it doing? Dow is up 0.17%. NASDAQ is up 0.21%. S&P is up 0.17%. Coinbase leading the way. NVIDIA, Ford, losers of the day. Google, United Health, and Amazon. Gold and silver getting pummeled and crushed. And you have the DXY that is at 103.94. And DXT, it's going to try to see if it can get through that 786 retracement level to close out the week. Otherwise, that is the second week of it being stuck right there underneath that last retracement level for the NASDAQ 100 technology sector. Otherwise, the altcoin market does its thing, starting the catch-up process, and Bitcoin, as we head into the weekend, trying again there at 44,000. Meanwhile, Cardano today is up 24% at 56.57 cents. What a day. LFG. Hobby Time with Chris. Thank you, you too. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and start getting this video ready to get released. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you're looking for something to do throughout the weekend, of course, check out bcbacker.com. Get all that stuff on Wyckoff accumulation to understand the market behavior and the historical behavior of the market. Answer a lot of those questions you may have on how the market has behaved in the past and what is going on currently right now. There's also downloadable spreadsheets in here. Of course, I do have, I said spreadsheets, I meant PDFs. Of course, you can check out that is at bcbacker.com. $39 one-time fee, no recurring subscription fees, no recurring automatic payments, nothing. $39, it is yours. Enjoy your whole weekend. Let your wife and your spouse just hear the beautiful, silky smooth voice of BCB. Then you can check out the Substack over here. This is the newsletter that I do have. Where we talk a lot about that developer data, inflation rates, circulating supplies, and percentage drawdowns for the last several weeks, going through the altcoin market to find the differences between 2021 and 2017. This has been very informative, and obviously, like somebody mentioned, it was awesome to have the sentiment people on the channel. And that's because this data proves that it was important. So if you haven't checked out the newsletter yet, you can check that out. This one is subscription-based. It's at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Otherwise, Eric, thank you, man. You just gifted 2 separate BCB memberships. Michael Love says XRP 6686 right now, BCB. And yeah, so a little bit of greenery happened over there. It's probably going to be a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to it. You guys got to 1,473 likes during the show. That is pretty darn good. Thank you guys very much for the support. As I always say, that's the number one way to support the channel, more than memberships, more than super chats, more than anything. You guys, especially you guys who just flip it on and hit the like button before you even see that I called you not special. You guys are amazing. Thank you. You are wonderful. I don't know what's special, but wonderful. All right, I'm wrapping it up before I get myself in dingus trouble. Eric, thanks again. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're looking for something to do, check out BC Backer. Check out the Substack. Have a wonderful weekend. And keep your eyes out. Just keep hitting the refresh on the Blockchain Backer YouTube channel, because I'm going to release the video the second this thing is over. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one. Eric, you're going crazy. Thank you. All right, again, have a good one.